stand by. You'll be joined in shortly.
That's 1842. 1812. Gotcha. Yeah, connects that.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the October Prince Edward County Planning Commission meeting. The Prince Edward County Planning Commission strongly encourages citizens to participate in public meetings through in-person participation, written comments, and/or remote participation by calling 1-844-890-7777 with access code 390313. Additionally, citizens may view the Planning Commission meeting live in its entirety at the county's YouTube channel, the link to which is provided on the county's website. Public hearing comments for Planning Commission meetings are subject to the Citizen Guide for providing input during public participation in public hearings for Prince Edward County government meetings, revised October 12, 2022. With that, I'd like to call the meeting to order. I go through the roll here. Mr. Fuller?
Present.
Mr. Gilliam?
Here.
Mr. Leatherwood?
Present.
Mr. Page?
Here.
Mr. Peary?
Here.
Ms. Sandlin?
Here.
Mr. Weiss?
Here.
Mr. Womack?
Here.
And Mr. Pringaman. We do have a quorum. At this time, I'd like everybody to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the approval of minutes from last meeting. There were two minor changes we needed to make. Under new business, there was a mention of the word Fisherville, that is Kingsville. If we can make that change there. And then the other change, I'm sorry, that's for the new one, okay. That would be the only change. Did anybody else have any other changes to the minutes? Okay, we'd like a roll call vote to approve the minutes. Mr. Womack?
Yes.
Mr. Weiss?
Yes.
Mrs. Sandlin?
Yes.
Mr. Pringaman, yes. Mr. Peary?
Yes.
Mr. Page?
Yes.
Mr. Leatherwood?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Minutes approved, thank you. On tonight's agenda, we have a public hearing, Retson Companies, regarding a retail store. Can you give us a little overview, Mr. Love?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, we can receive an application from Redson Companies Incorporated for a special use permit to operate a retail store on tax parcel number 050-5-D and 050-5-F, located on the east side of Farmville Road. This is just due north of its intersection with Kingsville Road. This parcel is zoned A2, agricultural residential, and this use requires a special use permit. The applicant, well, first off, this has been, public hearing's been duly advertised in the Farmville Herald, and adjoining property owners were sent letters of notification, which are in your packet. One thing to note, this development site is in our expanded highway corridor overlay district, and that has specific design standards such as automatic provision of shared entrances, interparcel connection, upgraded architectural details visible from a public right-of-way, landscape parking islands, full cutoff fixture lighting, and monument signage that does not exceed 30 square feet on each face. The applicant supplied staff with a couple of concepts. We've gone back and forth with them. We started with a plank-style building, and you can see in the color renderings, we've got more of a brick style. It's a brick building with architectural features over faux windows, and out, instead of having a big bar or blank signage, we have outline letters, and then you also can see the monument sign that's proposed. This application went through our new development review committee. You're familiar, I spoke with you last time. The county formed with the town of Farmville and a development review committee which can help developers to work through these processes and understand what each agency is going to require. The health department took a look at this, as well as utility providers, and we vetted this application through that process at a staff level. Again, that's just a staff review of the technical details. I know some of the things are hard to see in the scale of the drawing, but on the site plan, in front of the full parking area, there is full new landscaping proposed. Each of the islands and the bump out, it is all landscaping. So that addresses the highway corridor overlay, and of course the facade is an upgraded facade as proposed. I'd be glad to answer any questions that the commission might have. VDOT did require a turn lane for this facility, which would be built on the property. It'd be totally built on the property Retson would operate, where the facility would be.
And that would be a turn lane going north, correct?
Turn lane going north, yes.
I did have a question from VDOT's, out there, they proposed a turn lane northbound.
Yes,
So there is no turn lane going southbound.
No, there's no widening of the VDOT right of way or center turn lane in the
Is
highway.
that or addressed at all? Or is that from the traffic study? One asking, there's a lot of traffic southbound there. I know from the roundabout, things back up, so.
There
I
is,
just didn't know if that was addressed by VDOT in the.
VDOT looked at this comprehensively, Steve Snell looked at this, and beyond, through the site, before you get to the site, this is a 40-mile-an-hour speed zone, and with the low traffic, the number of traffic count or the lack thereof, it just didn't meet their requirements for a widening of the main state road to put in a southbound.
Any other questions for Mr. Love?
I have a couple, please.
Sure.
One is, I saw from what you gave us that there's a creek or some sort of stream behind the property. Is there any sort of flood hazard, flooding issues from that stream to the development?
Not that we're aware of.
Okay. And the one, back on the road matter, the one way in and out, is that one entrance shown?
Yes, that's correct.
Not two, just one.
Yeah, that, coming north, you'll only be able to come in, and then there'll be that painted stop bar, and you'll be, when you come out, you would go north to south, but it's in on that turn lane.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Love? With that in mind, we'd like to open the public hearing. Matt from Retson Companies, would you like to give an overview? Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, distinguished members of the Planning Commission. My name is Matthew Taggart. I am a project manager with Retson Companies. I'm also going to introduce my team. We have Mr. Matt Williams, who's also a project manager with Retson, and then Seth Epperson is he's an engineer with Summit. So that being said, as you guys know, we're here for a special use permit. We'll just dive right in. On here, just kind of wanted to highlight the non-residential uses in the area. You'll see our site in the middle, surrounded by the two gas stations, a few multiple home businesses, and some other non-residential uses. As Mr. Love alluded to with the traffic, it's one of our biggest concerns when we come into an area is mitigating our potential effects on traffic. As you can see, the Virginia Department of Transportation has approved our plan with a 200-foot turn lane and 500-foot sight distance easements. That's a 100-foot taper with a 100-foot turn, and that's 500 feet to the left and to the right. This will alleviate a lot of traffic congestion issues with entering and exiting the site. Visits to our sites average about 12 to 16 trips per hour. So we're not a destination location. We're designed to really support the immediate surrounding communities. And then with addition to that, with the traffic circle, that's really going to be a calming factor on the entrance as well. So as you can see here, there's the 200-foot turn lane coming in right here. That'll be on our property. These hatched sections are the site distance easements that are presented from VDOT. So with the installation of the turn lane, the required site distance easement, also with the helpful benefits of the traffic circle, we feel that we've really assuaged the public safety concerns from a traffic aspect. And then on these next few slides, we're going to show you the architectural design and landscaping that we're using to blend the store into the Hampden-Sydney facade and really set that benchmark for the Highway Corridor Overlay District. So we start with lighting. All of our lighting is night sky friendly, full cutoff, and they're designed to have minimal glare to the surrounding properties. We'll also have a landscaping buffer on the northern side of the site. That's going to mitigate any headlights polluting Farmville Road. There's also some buffers on the site as well, and that'll help the surrounding areas being impacted. So what you'll see on the lower side of the site and the right, that's the 15-foot buffers that'll be installed. And then directly across from the proposed retail store, you'll see that 8-foot landscaping buffer as well. Retson, we've worked extensively with the Design Review Committee and county staff to really create a product that's, matches the facade of the Hampden-Sydney College and really to the standard of Prince Edward County is what we're really trying to do here. We're following all the ordinances set forth, and we're really excited about establishing the benchmark for sites coming into the Farmville area. This last slide right here is the architectural design. So you'll see on the front and the sides, we have full brick to the top. That's also going to match the Hampden-Sydney brick. So that color will be very, very similar or the same. We have the white shutters. We have the white columns supporting the awning, and then the pediment over the main entrance. So that's all I have. If there's any questions, I'm going to defer them to Mr. Matt Williams. He can take any of those for me, guys. Thank you very much.
First of all, are there any questions from the board for Matt? Matt, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
With that, we'll open up the public hearing to the audience here and anybody on the phone. Do we have anybody that is called in? Okay, thank you. Again, for anybody wishing to speak, we'd ask to limit your time to 5 minutes. And if you want to speak from the audience here, we just ask you to come up to the podium, state your name, and then the podium is yours. Okay, thank you. Do we have anybody in the audience here that wishes to speak for or against the project? Are there any questions at all for the Retson group here?
Do you have an idea when, if approved, when the project will start and how long it'll take?
If approved, that'll be contingent on, the whole review process through all agencies,
Right.
Through the county, through VDOT.
Okay.
Yeah, 5 to 6 months is typical. Once we reach full approval, construction time is 120 days.
Okay.
Less if we can,
Right,
if
right,
we can.
depending on what, yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
I would like to commend the county commission and the group here for going ahead and making the building aesthetically pleasing I think that's very important to the members of the community, which I am one of them, so that was one of our main concerns. Question I do have is, it's a 3.9 parcel of larger 13-acre parcel, is that correct? Okay, the 3.9 acres will be cleared. The balance of the property is to be left intact at this point in time? But it is up for sale or proposed expansion or?
At this time, our real estate division doesn't have any plans for that remnant. So,
Okay, because my question was that is an additional buffer around the
yes, sir. So
proposed facility.
The goal there is to only clear what we have to per VDOT site distance easement and leave as much natural vegetation as possible, and then obviously adhere to the ordinance and replant anything that we do have to clear with aesthetically appeasing, softening landscape.
Okay, so the 500-foot along Farmville Road will be cleared and then replanted? Is that, or is it going to be existing vegetation will be left?
Our goal on every project that we do, no matter the use, is to leave as much existing vegetation as possible.
I know with the easement though, for VDOT, we'll have to clear that.
Yes, sir.
We'll have to clear to meet their site distance easement, but outside of that, we'll try to leave as much intact as possible, and then, again, per the ordinance, we will replant back if we do have to clear outside of those parameters.
If they have to clear the buffer or something like that, then we replant it.
What provisions are made for storm runoff?
We're gonna be treating, water quantity and quality. So any clearing that we do will be accounted for with that. The grades actually, just based on what we have from LIDAR, look really good when it comes to stormwater, so we should be able to get everything. And then we'll discharge on both the creek. We'll be reducing the quantity, and then treating quality on the site. Most likely it'll be a wet pond.
Have a few
Sure.
questions,
Yes,
please.
sir.
Going back to the remaining parcel, the 11 or so acres, the plans show a hashed area for access from the Dollar General site into the remainder. Is that just, for no concrete plans, just to have it there for future use?
Yes, sir, that's kind of standard protocol with this particular client, to be able to access the remnant in case we or somebody else wants to do something down the road. So it won't be, we're granting that easement, but it won't be a physical road unless it needs to be.
And just to add, it is a requirement of the Highway Corridor Overlay District to have that provision where you're limiting the entrances. So it would be, if something else happens to ever come there, they would have easement so that it would just be one common entrance.
So basically, future development on the 11 acres would come and go from the entrance you're building?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Lowe?
And we did, County Administrator and I did look at that, and we did, the county does require that.
Very good.
So that is, it helps them for their use, they can have, if they have a tenant, but we also want that, to limit the amount of entrances there in that area.
Makes sense. One follow-on question real fast is, what are the operating hours going to be? Has that been established?
8 a.m.
8 a.m. to 7?
to 10.
10. Is that's also okay with county staff?
Every day.
You can put that as a
Yeah,
condition if
yeah.
you wish.
Yeah, that's, we have room to put any conditions to the special use permit.
One question. According to the parking, it's none on the backside of the building, correct? So any trucks coming in, delivery trucks, have to turn in and then back up into the, I'm assuming the dock area is on the,
Yes, sir. Yeah, we have to, their client requires, on every site, we have to run truck turns on really the biggest truck you can possibly get. So we run those trucks to make sure it safely gets in without getting any spots.
okay.
Yes, sir. It can safely get out back onto the road too.
Do we have any other questions from the board? And nobody's on the call at all yet? Okay, thank you. If there are no other questions, then we will close that portion of the public hearing and allow the planning commission to review. Comments or questions other than what we have done so far? If you go to page 47, this is for the board. Go to page 47, we have the list of conditions that we had put together, first for the site plan, the environmental, the transportation, finally the general. And this is where we can add any other conditions if we so choose before we decide to take any action. And there was a question about the hours.
Right. I would, when we're ready to
Yeah.
do conditions, I
Sure,
would
okay.
suggest that we have a
Okay,
condition on operating
sure.
hours.
But we can review those before, we would review those before we go ahead and get any action. And I think this is the best time. If there's any other conditions we'd like to add to this special use permit,
Well, the hours, I mean, since it it is commercial there as well.
Yeah.
I don't really see a problem with 8 to 10. Is that 7 days a week?
yeah. You do have the two gas stations there. One is,
I'm sure they're
Yep.
open 9 or 10.
yes, they are. Mhm, yes.
And one convenience store, I think, is open to both.
They're existing, they're existing, but their hours
And
are,
then with the Old Fish and Pig Event Center, there'll be some late nights there as well, I'm sure, so.
okay, sure. Okay. Other comments?
I have maybe a minor one.
Sure.
On the potential conditions, item 3 under site plan.
Yes.
It says, and again, maybe this was the intent, but it says, blah, 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 a development office, this is the third line, for review prior to implementation. Should it be review and approval?
We can put that in there.
Yeah.
Review and-
Yeah, we can add it for final review and approval.
I figured that was the intent.
Yes, it is.
And actually, I would recommend a change, on number 3, I think I've had it in past ones. Any proposed expansion or change of use will come back to you all.
Right, come back to the planning commission.
I would take out planning and development office and say planning commission.
In the past, our conditions were almost changed with every special use permit we had. This time, we got together as a group and tried to put together a list of special use permit potential conditions here, rather than try to go through adding 10 to 15 to each one of the special use permit requests. Back to the hours, I personally would feel comfortable right now with the hours of 8 to 10, unless we had some major complaints or issues from any of the neighbors there that's more consistent with the convenience stores / gas stations in the area there right now.
7 days a week.
Yes. If there are no other comments,
One question.
oh, yes, sir.
This is just for my clarification.
Sure.
The cutoff lights that are proposed in here,
Yes.
are those on during normal operating hours and then dimmed or turned off, or what is the operating procedure for that? It's a question I had because there was a stipulation.
Yeah, they're only on
When-
as it gets dark.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, as we move into the winter time, they're gonna be coming on earlier.
Right, but they are on after operating hours is my question.
Oh, excuse me. The main pedestal light in the at the front of the driveway will stay on. When they close the building, when they close the store, the rest of the lights.
Other than it's for security or whatever.
Does the sign light stay on, or is the sign gonna be
Yes.
lighted?
Yes, the sign light will
It is 24/7, correct?
And just to speak to the signage again, because we showed a rendering, a concept. I know there's been a little back and forth, about that. I just want to make it clear that our client does all the signage and all the permitting for that. And so if this gets approved and as we move further down the road, if there's something more required for the overlay district or the county wants to see in terms of color, layout, et cetera, we can address that when the time comes.
Yeah, we have our own signage conditions or guidelines right now, so,
It's
yeah,
a signed permit issue.
correct,
for the,
yes.
Both
Okay.
zoning and, construction building.
Any other questions from the board or comments? We look for a motion. Do we have a motion?
I'll move that we approve this request with the hours condition, which we just discussed. 8 a.m. to
Second.
10 p.m., 7 days a week.
Okay, terrific.
I'll second.
Second. All in favor, let me take a roll again. Mr. Womack?
Yes.
Mr. Weiss?
Yes.
Mrs. Sandlin?
Yes,
Mr. Perry?
Yes.
Mr. Page?
Yes.
Mr. Leatherwood?
Yes.
Mr. Gilliam?
Yes.
Mr. Fuller?
Yes.
Mr. Prengerman, yes. The vote has been approved. We will pass this on to the County Board of Supervisors to be presented at their next meeting.
It's a board meeting, so it's a different date, not on
Oh, okay,
because it's Thursday coming up, because election day is.
okay, that's true, okay. So the board meeting is now on the 10th because of election? Okay, thank you for that. Do we have a review of supervisors' actions? Mr. Love?
Yes, the application, put that, I don't have my notes on that. Give me a second. Bear with me. The Stolzfus, special use permit was approved, and I'm working with the Stolzfus, they're actually going on vacation, but they're gonna be getting some, building permits for those pads, that they're gonna install, and et cetera, on that site. But that site has been fully approved, and they'll be moving forward with that, project, and putting that back on Airbnb. I don't have any old business or new business.
Does anybody on the board have any old business?
you had mentioned last month you were gonna try to get an update on the.
CIP.
We're waiting for a few more projects to get finished, so I'm gonna give you an end-of-year wrap-up. One of those was the chiller, that's finally done. So, I just, with the development review committee and this and a couple other things, we haven't pulled all of these back together, and we got a couple of things just finishing, as you see, like, I think by next meeting, we'll have a landscaping report. That's being done, so we'll give you a full comprehensive, kind of end of the year wrap-up on that.
Thank you.
Any new business? With no other issues or concerns, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to be here. Have a good evening.